Welcome to Talks with Tracy, with certified hypnotherapist, life coach, and licensed mental health professional, Tracy Claremont. Tracy will share her healing journey and explore the many meaningful alternative healing methods in our world today that will support you in doing your own deepest emotional healing. So please welcome the host of Talks with Tracy, Tracy Claremont. Let the suffering end and the healing begin.
Hello and welcome to Talks with Tracy. I am your host, Tracy Claremont, coming to you live on the Bold Brave Television Network. Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate everyone who takes the time to listen to my show. And thank you, Bold Brave Television Network, for having me. So, lately my focus and attention has really been drawn so strongly to creating our best life and lives that are fulfilling, lives that are aligned with our purpose for being here. And I know I talk about those things all the time, but my focus has really been drawn to that lately. And I know that, aligning your life with your purpose and knowing your purpose is easier said than done. Uh, a lot of people feel like they don't know what their purpose is in this lifetime. And I get that. I was there for a long, long time, and I have received a lot of guidance and help in figuring this out and developing an understanding of my own purpose for being here. So I get that it's not as easy as it sounds figuring all that out. But recently, I have received guidance in a few different ways. I've received clear messages, even from my own guides, telling me to just move full throttle into not only living my own life for myself, but really move full throttle into uh, helping others to do the same. So I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of excited about this. I'm really excited about this. But how do we get there? How do we ignite our superpowers? Every single one of us has the ability to receive the most incredible guidance from above, from the other side, whatever you want to call it. We all have the ability to use our senses to receive psychic messages. Now, I'm not saying that we all need to run out and try to become psychic mediums or Reiki masters or anything like that. That's not the calling for all of us, for sure. But we do all have this little part of our brain called the pineal gland that is the doorway to enlightenment, this gateway to higher consciousness and spirituality. We all have that. We all have it for a reason. So we can all access that and receive. And I encourage everybody to do that. So now, as I have described before on this show, when I really put my focus and intention on a specific thing, the universe just literally lays the most incredible people in my path. And this has happened again for me. Today's guest is truly remarkable. Her name is Michele Lundstrom, and I can honestly say that she's a kindred spirit to me. Now, whenever I'm going to use a phrase like kindred spirit, I always Google it to make sure that I'm using it correctly. And I am using it correctly. So a kindred spirit is someone whose interests and attitudes are similar to yours, can even be beliefs are similar. So Michele and I, we go beyond just the average kindred spirit. We actually share many of the same beliefs and knowings and understandings, and we have similar paths of how we developed over the course of our careers, how we came to be doing what we do in our work. Even our spiritual development is very similar. We're going to talk about that later today. So she also has an amazing story related to how she came into her full superpowers. And trust me, she does have superpowers. I have experienced them myself. So Michele Lundstrom, my amazing guest today, is an intuitive reader, a shamanic intuitive channel, a Reiki master, an empath coach. Um, I took a little quote off of her website and about the services she provides. So she provides, and I quote, intuitive readings, through your higher self, your guides, Akashic records, and subtle energy, the chakras, to help identify and prioritize what your energy wants to bring to your awareness, as well as energetic imbalances and direct channeled healing energy to the chakras. She does all of that. It's amazing. And as I said, I have experienced it myself, and it was incredible. So, yeah, let's bring her on. Please join me in welcoming the amazing and beautiful Michele Lundstrom.
Oh, thank you, Tracy. I am honored by
Yeah.
your introduction and thank you for having me on the show.
Absolutely. I'm so happy to be here. I've been excited about having you on the show for sure. So yeah, thank you for joining me. On Talks with Tracy, I like to do a little thing where we just kind of get to know each other. I call it getting naked because it's kind of getting vulnerable. Nowhere you don't have to take off any clothes. It's not that kind of show, but when we tell about our own life experience and we really share our progression and our challenges and our learning and all of that, it can feel a little bit like you're naked on a stage or something, right? Because it is a place of vulnerability. So
Yeah.
ahead of time, I've asked if you're okay with that, and you are. So yeah, I think it's important to demonstrate to others how we ourselves have overcome challenges in our lives, and basically how we've grown, transformed, evolved to where we are today. And I know that you are a soul having a human experience, right?
Yes.
So you have must have encountered challenges and had learning. Can you give us a little bit of background to kind of tell us about your earlier years in your life and things that you've experienced?
Yeah, as you might guess, I was not a typical child. My my childhood it kind of showed me that I was unique, though I didn't know that at first. I thought everyone
Mm,
could ask a question and just hear an answer. I thought everyone was
mm,
very connected to nature and animals, and as I grew up a little bit, I realized that was not the case. So, um, I
mm,
had a family that did not necessarily understand who I was. And so that became a bit
mm.
challenging. That was difficult. I would talk to spirits. I called everything ghosts because when I was a little child, I had
Yeah,
absolutely no context for spirit or guides or any of that. So, as I tell this story, just know that I called everything ghosts back then. And
yeah.
my family really didn't quite know what to do with that, and so they
Mm,
decided I was creative and I had imaginary friends, and that kind of made it okay. So that kind of kept me online for a while, and then we moved, and the ghosts changed, and so then my parents weren't sure quite what to do with that. I was telling these
mm,
stories that seemed absolutely wild. And a great grandfather, fortunately, my stepfather's family, this farm had passed through generations. And he heard some of my stories and he's like, "You're talking about my grandma and my grandpa." And I had their
mm.
names and I was talking about them in ways that, I mean, it was their personalities. Um, and so then my parents wanted to put a stop to it. That scared them. My great grandfather thought that was really cool, but my parents did not. So I, instead of
Wow.
shutting gifts off, I just pretended that they weren't there, which ended up
Right.
being a blessing to me.
Oh, okay. So that's interesting to me too. It ended up being a blessing because really what you're describing is the experience of so many of us, right? We come into this world with our gifts and who we are, who we our authentic selves and whatnot. And then as we begin to express, so often we get that stifled and we get conditioned to not be who we really are and behave in a different way. This is why I say our stories are so aligned. That was my experience, my in my own life. But I, I guess everything is a gift because it's part of our learning and whatnot. And it did come to a good place where it is now. But it really did cause me to live as somebody different than who I was, and it really led to a lot of people pleasing and things that didn't serve me. So you say that that was really a gift. Did you experience having to pretend to be somebody you weren't, though?
I mean, that part was never that fun, of course, to not be able to be authentic, which ended up leading me to wanting so badly to live an authentic life. So that was a
Hmm,
gift in that it showed
okay.
me the contrast. Because when we can see the opposite of something, we can really embrace kind of the light side of it when we really deeply know the shadow side of it.
Right. And that's so true because um, if we don't have awareness, then we don't see the contrast and we don't know that there's things available to be healed. And again, I think that's another similar pattern that we as humans have, right? Not developing our awareness around things that are really causing us harm and just thinking it's normal, just like you were like, oh, everybody has ghosts, everybody talks to spirits when you were little. A lot of
Mhm.
times we kind of take on something that is understood to be normal when it's not exactly healthy for us. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems so normal to me, and I spent a lot of my life trying to understand human beings because I was so confused as a child just as to
Mm.
like I thought that maybe I was less than and that they knew something that I didn't, and so I just kept running with that story of they know something that I can't figure out.
Other humans, you mean, know something that you can't figure out?
Yeah, I just kept thinking that when I was little, right? And remember, developmentally, that's a child's brain
Absolutely.
trying to sort through what is
For
going
sure.
on
Because
here.
and
Yeah.
kids want to be the same. Kids want to be the same as everybody else. We go through those periods of adolescence and things like that where we really just want to be fit in with our
Mhm,
peers and whatnot. So it caused you to have a feeling of less than. Um,
mhm.
and did that, so I would call that like a belief that was developed within you for a period of time. Is that right?
Yeah, it actually lasted a very long time until probably my junior college days, right? Of
Okay.
just really kind of thinking because I felt different. I knew I was different. Um, and part of what the blessing was in that is that I made friends with the trees and the animals, and I had this
Mhm.
thing as a kid, I wanted to tame all the wild cats, and I felt this great sense of accomplishment when I would get them to love me and cuddle me and purr on me. So,
Well, I would consider that a great accomplishment as well, taming wild
yes,
cats.
yes, the early shaman in me.
Yeah. So I do think it's amazing that you had this awareness and maintained this awareness of who you really are, and found ways within yourself to practice who you really are, right? And to connect in the ways that you needed to connect. So you said that this kind of took you into your early college years, and
Mhm.
then what happened around that time?
I started to find other people that were more similar to me. So I wasn't in a small town anymore. I was with a group of people, and we'd be in study groups, and people would pick me, and I was like, "Why? Like, I'm not. I shouldn't even be here." I had some sort of imposter syndrome that I just didn't belong, and had created my sense of belonging within the natural world of nature. And so it was really interesting that suddenly people were interested in what I had to say, and saw me as a intelligent being. And I was pretty honest about who I was, and that's kind of when I just was like, well, if, people are accepting me here, maybe that was just in my town that nobody could hear. But then I realized most of them didn't either. But people seemed a lot more open to who I was, and they were curious, and I would do palm readings, but I wasn't really reading palms because I had no idea how. My great grandmother used to read palms, but I was psychically reading them and just holding their hand. It seemed like something that people were very kind of open to back then. And so that's kind of how I
Oh.
started practicing and getting feedback of like, yeah, that's true. Or people would, have an emotional response that showed me that I hit on something.
Oh, wow. That is great. Palm reading, but really just doing psychic readings.
Yes.
So, you mentioned imposter syndrome when people were interested in you and wanted you to, saw you as an intellect and things like that. I would imagine that that was kind of like the underpinnings of the uh, not good enough kind of thing, or I'm different, or I'm not the same, I don't fit in, that kind of uh, rumbling going on in your core, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And to go back a little further and give some context to why I was feeling that way so strongly is because they had put me in a special education classroom because they really couldn't understand me. I was this weird kid out talking to trees, and
Oh.
um I was so confused and patronized by the adults that
Mm.
they had projected a lot of things onto me. And so I was constantly,
Oh,
that led to me constantly trying to figure out, like, what is everybody else thinking? What do they know that I don't know? Like, I thought they had some sort of
yeah.
insight. And then they put me back into mainstream classroom, and they put a camera on me. And it was this university had this
Oh.
auditorium, and all the students that were going for a teacher training program were like coming in and out and watching. And I knew that the focus of the camera was on me because I had to sit in the very back corner of the classroom, and the camera was right on me all the time. And
Oh my goodness.
so they're kind of researching mainstreaming special education children, which is really unfair to that population because I did not fit in that population. I was misunderstood. But what I interpreted that as in my brain, like, because again, a
Mm-hmm.
little, kid brain, this is elementary school. I'm trying to figure out, like, what do they know? And what am I supposed to be doing? So I thought I was supposed to be remote viewing what was happening on the other side of the camera. So I would start drawing it and writing out words. And so I was getting this beautiful divine intervention of training to become exactly who I was meant to be, but in the most unusual ways.
Oh my goodness. That is that's an amazing story. And I think it's interesting too how that whole having you on camera, things like that, was all meant to figure out how to make special needs children feel more comfortable within a classroom setting. And that was so uncomfortable for you and so confusing. Oh my goodness. I can just imagine what they thought when they saw your drawings of what was happening on the other side of the camera.
Yeah,
Oh.
I don't know. I would love to see some of that research that happened on the other end, but I've never been able to find access to it.
Oh, wow. Wow. So yeah, so you went to college, you kind of started practicing some of your skills, and it was being well received and accepted. Did you move into that then, or did you take a different path?
I took a different path. I went into kind of human resources and um, did stuff like that. And I was using my gifts pretty frequently, like in everything that I did, and being pretty open about who I was. And, people just kind of opened up to me and started talking to me. And I was still on this
Mm.
quest to understand human beings. So, the next logical step is to start to pursue higher education. And I got my master's in mental health counseling, uh, which
Oh,
was the
okay.
closest thing I could figure out to how to understand people. And that still didn't give me the
Oh,
answers, but that was the
oh,
next
okay.
next stage on that journey where I was also pretty open about who I am for the most part.
Nice. And do you have a military background as well?
Yeah, during that time, I did 8 years in the Air Force,
Oh,
and
wow.
during that time, yeah, there was a lot of, intuition that helped me on deployments and helped me kinda survive and get through a lot of things, so, yeah.
So, I would expect the military not to be super open to somebody's gifts and ways, but maybe I'm wrong. I mean, the military. My son is actually uh, shipping out on Monday, so the military has been on my mind quite a bit lately. But
Mhm.
uh, yeah, I mean, it's so regimented, and there's so much that you don't have a lot of choice in. Was that difficult for you?
There was divine intervention throughout my life, and so I ended up exactly in the right spots. I was
Mhm.
immediately pulled into special operations where they really embraced who I was and what I had to
Oh,
say. And
nice.
so, even though I was doing more of a human resources role, um,
Uh-huh.
they were pretty open to hearing those things. So that was helpful to me,
Wow.
and that I
Very
could be who I was.
validating.
Yeah, and everybody wanted readings when we went out for drinks, and I don't recommend mixing reading and alcohol, but when I was young, I did do plenty of that.
Oh, that actually sounds like fun. So,
Yeah.
so you back to you got your degree in the field of like standard mental health counseling. Is
Yes.
that right? And you did that for a number of years.
Yeah.
And where at what point did you decide that again, we're very much aligned in our experiences. And I did mental health therapy. I'm still doing it for many, many years. And then I just had this feeling like, huh, this isn't cutting it for me. I kind of had this feeling like this takes a long time.
Mhm. Yeah.
This takes a long time to develop trust relationships and get past people's walls that they put up where they protect their trauma and whatnot. There has to be a faster way.
Mhm.
So I started out by going into hypnotherapy, and you did something similar. Is that right?
Yes, I did. Very early on in my career, I got a certification in clinical hypnotherapy. I was, again, trying to understand, and I was really drawn to things that were a little more fringe. And at that time, hypnosis really was kind of fringe.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you also have that feeling like um, doing regular standard mental health therapy? And I'm not knocking it. I still do it with clients all the time. But did you
Mhm.
have that feeling like there has to be a faster way?
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of what has led me into the profession that I have now is I would be frustrated that um,
Mhm.
you know, I knew that things could move faster. And it was a lot of, there was times where I intuitively knew, like, don't take a full history on this person. That they've told their story enough. This isn't what they need right now. There was a lot of intuitions that came in, and of course, I'd be sitting there doing therapy, and their grandma would come in and decide to help and assist in the session, or I would get all these intuitive hits, and if someone was watching me do mental health therapy at that time, they wouldn't have necessarily known
Mhm.
that I was using intuition and psychic abilities. They would have probably wondered, how on earth did she know to ask that? So in the background, I was constantly like allowing the intuitive stuff to kind of guide my questions, but it's such a long road there because it's like, okay, I
Mhm.
somehow have to get over here because this is the issue. And I mean, that was creative, but also this amazing, again, the divine putting me exactly where I needed to be to develop into who I
Mhm.
am. Doing, 20 some years of therapy, I was able to really get a ton of validation that gave me the confidence to just have things fly
Mhm.
out of my mouth when I'm intuitively reading that, and do blind readings where all I know is the person's first name and tell them about themselves. I mean, that can be a kind of scary thing to do, a very vulnerable thing to do, speaking of vulnerability.
Mhm.
And so it
Yes.
really was that training ground for me to have people be like, yeah, that example is this, or how do you remember that? And I'd be like, I don't remember you telling me this, but okay.
That's amazing. Again, I appreciate our similarities in our experience. That's kind of why in the opener I wanted to say that we all have this ability. We all have this ability to do this, but we don't always really focus on it, give it credit, honor it. And in my work for years in mental health therapy, I would receive little downloads of information. And I can remember for a while there, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I wonder if they noticed that. But they didn't, of course. And then I would be like, that was a weird thought, or, I don't know where that came from. And I wouldn't speak it. I'd poo poo it away, which I
Hmm.
think a lot of us do when we don't have the awareness and honor that. So I did that for years and years and years. And then I started a different process. I started thinking, okay, I am not coming up with that myself. It doesn't even feel like my own thought. I often
Yes.
describe it as like this little raindrop dropping
Hmm.
into my brain, and then all of a sudden it's there. So I learned to speak it when it came.
Hmm.
And I started saying in a regular mental health therapy session, I'd be like, sometimes things drop into my mind. I don't know where they come from, but
Hmm.
the words come from, but I know I'm meant to speak them. So I am going to tell you what I just heard. And I started doing that, right? I'll never forget this one session with this beautiful young woman, and she was struggling with uh, um, her own self-respect, self-confidence, things like that. She'd had a rough childhood, and in the course of that session, all of a sudden it drops into my mind the words, "You are more than your vagina." And I'm like, oh wow, okay. So I'm like, I just heard something and I know I meant to speak it, but it was that awkward moment where like, what? Really? You want me to say that to her?
Yes.
So I did. And it was a huge moment for her. It
Hmm.
was like, I am, and I am more than that. I do have more to offer than that. Uh, so I appreciate your experience for sure. So you were just kind of progressing into your own authenticity, right? And
Yeah.
progressively getting to where you could be your authentic self. What other kind of trainings did you get when you after the hypnotherapy, or maybe during the hypnotherapy you did that, and then where did you go from there?
Um, where I went from there was I was curious about all kinds of things. I studied internal family systems, parts work that later plays a role in kind of some of my readings. I've studied a lot of the more kind of intuitive, free flowing. I never really liked models that were linear and structured because I
Hmm.
love to have more of the intuitive flow and just kind of
Yes.
see kind of what comes up or what's meant to be and just trusting in the universe on that.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful. One of my least favorite questions that I would get all the time is, what modalities do you use in your mental health therapy? Because I would supervise people in
Mhm.
becoming mental health therapists, and the people who would hire me essentially to supervise wanted to know what modalities I used. And then insurance companies, of course, they always want to know what modalities you're using.
Yeah.
Ugh, that was my least favorite questions because I was like, I don't know. I just do it.
Yeah. I don't know. I just do it. Yeah. And people would watch me and they'd be like, oh, and then I saw you use this model and that model. And it's like, yeah, well, I've studied a lot of these things, but they're coming out intuitively. And that's the nice thing about intuition is the more knowledge base that we have, the more we can
Mhm.
tap into because I can't speak to something that my brain or my consciousness knows absolutely nothing about. The words or the knowledge
Mm.
has to be within me. So studying, human beings, studying relationships, getting to know people in this deep and vulnerable way, like, is such an
Mm,
honor. Like, that was one of the things that I still cherish about that time in my life, is the deep honor of being somebody that gets to know somebody on that deep of a level, to spend hours with
mm,
them, listening and holding space and learning all about who they are.
right. And it is a, a big transition shifting from doing like mental health therapy with people where you have many sessions to
Mhm.
doing, sometimes just one reading with somebody or one
Yeah.
session with somebody. Was that comfortable for you? That transitioning?
Yeah, I was comfortable in that I started to transition into kind of, I came out, so to speak, as an intuitive therapist. And so that
Nice.
was like my initial launch. And so I could be really kind of authentic within that, but was still still limited by, licensure and those kind of things. So
Right.
um, they're just different. One I listen most of the time, the other I talk most of the time.
Right. Yeah, that's a huge difference. I agree. So then
Yeah.
you found the shamanic intuitive channeling and readings. Can you tell me a little about that? That must have been a great fit for you.
Yeah, it was fun. And as I was doing kind of the intuitive therapy, I was on this quest for, there's more, like something else to help people heal. And so
Hmm.
I started studying the chakras,
Okay.
and went through a program to kind of learn a lot about the chakras, and intuitive development classes I took. And I took, Reiki training, and I started a shamanic practitioner 2-year program
Oh
that
wow.
was really mind blowing, and really kind of opened the doors for kind of a whole new reality and a whole new identity.
Wow, that is
Yeah.
amazing. So so that really must have, like I said, been a great fit for you when
Hmm.
because what you've described even in your childhood and whatnot, sounds a lot like what I would anticipate you had learned in a shamanic intuitive training. It can is
Yeah.
I guess can you just tell me briefly? I'm so curious how
Uh-huh.
that would differ from maybe some other intuitive trainings.
Yeah, it's different in that shamanism is a spiritual practice that's rooted in so many different ancient traditions and indigenous
Mhm.
cultures throughout the world. And so at its core, shamanism is based on the belief that everything in the universe, people, animals, plants, rocks, rivers, have a spirit or a consciousness.
Mhm.
And shamanic practitioners are those spiritual intermediaries that connect with those spirit realms, with the chakras, with whatever wisdom and guidance that's coming through. So, some
Mhm.
go into an altered state of consciousness, which is just another word for channeling. What you were describing that you were doing in your therapy sessions was a form of channeling, where that information just kind of
Mhm.
dropped in. And so when we go beyond
Mhm.
that physical world, we can start to get information from energy that can start to restore balance or remove blockages, or see what they are, see what a chakra wants to communicate, which is kind of what I mean by shamanic intuitive channel, and that I'm channeling that
Okay.
information. It's not of me, it's coming through me.
Through you.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and I know when we were talking before, I have described that as we are the faucet, not the water,
Yes.
and so we really just that energy, that knowing comes through us, and uh, just that kind of simple visualization has helped me in the past. So, so it's almost time to take our first commercial break. We're already 30 minutes in. It just goes so fast. And when we come back, Michelle, I would love to hear what happened to you to really just ignite your superpowers and really get you going on this full blown path of guiding people and healing. So, can we do that when we get back from the break?
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you for that. So, we're going to take a brief commercial break. You're watching Talks with Tracy on Bold Brave Television Network. Please join us after the break. We'll be right back.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to easysense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's easysense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness: Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Hello, welcome back to Talks with Tracy, coming to you live on the Bold Brave Television Network. I have the honor and privilege of visiting today with the amazing Michele Lundstrom. She has been sharing her life story, and I just have so many questions, but we've kind of come up to this point where, Michele, you're willing to share with us kind of what you were happening when you had this major life event that really ignited your superpowers. Can you kind of pick up where you left off, please?
Yes. So I started the shamanic practitioner program, and I was about a month in when I was sitting inside of my office and I was sitting
Mm.
at the computer. And all of a sudden, this giant thunderstorm came out of absolutely nowhere. There was nothing predicted. It's the
Oh,
afternoon.
wow.
Um, and this lightning bolt came down and hit a transformer and a tree right outside of my office. And
Mm.
three side flares came in, melted the glass in that mandorla
Oh
shape, um, and hit me in three spaces in my back.
oh
I
my
went
gosh.
unconscious and I was, according to my Fitbit, I was not alive for 3 minutes. Um,
Oh my gosh.
I felt like I was in this giant ball of light and energy. And so it was probably the near death experience and not the lightning that I was experiencing, but I felt complete bliss. And all I could see was
Mm.
bright, blinding light. Next thing I know,
Mm.
my toy poodle is licking my face, and I kind of
Aw.
come to. I called 911 because there's a giant fire from the transformer getting struck, and no one came for me. And
Oh.
so I I ended up calling my husband, and um, he you know helped me helped me out, but it was an initiation. It was a shamanic initiation. It wasn't something bad. I do feel like it was meant to happen. It was
Mhm.
so specifically targeted in my body in a way that I'm still alive, which is a
Mm.
miracle in itself to have that much voltage run through the body.
Mm.
Initially my heart didn't look like I was going to um, have a normal life again, if I made it at
Wow.
all. and I had a miracle healing. So the cardiologist said, you know, she said to me, I believe in God and this is a miracle. And I was like, okay, so do I need to come back? And she's like, no, your heart's fine now. So,
Wow. So initially there was damage to your heart. That's what you're saying when the
yes.
cardiologist was looking at it, and then you prayed for a healing, or you asked for a healing, or
Well, I believed that there would be. And so our
okay,
belief is powerful.
yes,
Our belief is very
yes,
strong. And
okay,
I knew this was an initiation. I contacted my
wow,
shamanic teacher and she said, this is an initiation. And, I
mm,
had, because I was in this program, I had all these amazing people that could journey for me and with
okay,
me and help me. So I had all of this support and people telling me, like, in many cultures, getting struck by lightning is a shamanic initiation. This is one of the ways that the nature elements would initiate you instead of like a native person
wow,
initiating you. So I was initiated by the
mhm,
elements by a lightning strike. Um,
mm,
my whole life changed. I had so much energy in my body that I would have to lay on the ground for hours. So fortunately, it was summer. In fact, we're right out about to my 6-year anniversary since it happened.
oh wow,
And it was a big acclimation process to adjust to being in this higher frequency. It cleared out all of this old trauma from my body that I had already worked on, but just was
mm,
stuck energy in the body. And it
okay.
cleared all of that out. And so I felt a lot more free. And I didn't have the pain of those things still lingering in the pain body.
Right, because those things lingering do cause us physical pain, right?
Absolutely. They cause us physical pain, emotional pain to linger in the body. Yeah, and
Mhm,
the medical system didn't really know what to do with me or how to help me. I had a
right,
lot of nerve damage that I still struggle with today. And they kept wanting to put me on gabapentin and different medications. And I
mhm,
chose not to take that path. That's for the right path for some people, but that wasn't the right path for me. And I knew intuitively,
mhm,
and I was checking in constantly with my guides of, what do I do? And when I did a QHHT session and asked how come the pain in my arm especially wasn't healing, the guide said to me, because you need to remember to run this energy. So I also became the channel of this lightning energy that runs through my arm, and if I don't run it every day, I get an extreme pain in my nervous system, especially through the right side of my body. And so it's a
right.
constant reminder to either give it as an offering to people or trees or plants or the land spirits.
Wow. So just to back up a little bit, talking about you had a quantum healing session.
Uh-huh.
Is that what you're talking about? Can you tell
Yes.
us just basically what a quantum healing session is, so that everybody knows what you chose to do to get that information?
Yeah, I went to a quantum hypnosis healer. It's the Dolores Cannon method, where
Mhm.
um, you're asking for that divine healing within yourself, and amazing things can come from that experience. So that
Mhm.
hypnosis session lasted it was like 6-hour process
Oh my
of
gosh.
kind of the intake and like a 3.5 hour hypnosis, because there was a lot of questions that I had about, why was I struck by lightning? And I wanted to hear kind of what my higher self had to
Mhm.
say or how that connected in with other lifetimes that I may have experienced.
Okay, yeah, and it sounds like you got some great answers and understanding out of that.
Yeah, it was very helpful. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So in the opening, when I said that, it's not always as easy as it sounds, aligning with our purpose and understanding our path and things like that. And I mentioned that I have received a lot of help along the way with that. That You just gave an example of how you received help with
Mm.
gaining your understanding and gaining some guidance in the direction. and how you're meant now to manage this energy that courses through your body. You did mention your right arm. Did you and nerve damage? Did you lose the use of your right arm in that lightning strike, or what happened with that?
Initially, yeah, initially it was just kind of, it looked like and it still doesn't look normal if you look at it. It looked like a severely arthritic hand. And I
Oh,
couldn't do
okay.
anything with my hand, and I couldn't really do much with my arm. I can now.
Mm,
The fact that I can now do what I can do now is a miracle as well. Um,
wow.
though I still have some of the nerve pain and some of the consequences, but that's, again, when I'm asking why won't you give me a miracle to heal it all the way, the guides had a very good reason. So sometimes something is still there to teach us something. It's still
Mhm.
there to help us move through something. And I would forget, honestly. I know myself
Mhm.
well enough. I wouldn't remember to run this energy every day. I would get complacent. And so I totally agree with what my higher self has decided to do, which to me can seem like suffering in moments, but it's really not. It's for that greatest and highest good, and it's for me to stay on track with, giving back from the gift that I received.
Right. Yeah, I appreciate how you were able to understand that a certain amount of pain remaining also has purpose and meaning and
Mhm.
is meant to help you with something. I know there's lots of different practices to out there to relieve pain, and even hypnosis for pain management
Mhm.
is one way. And in that process with people, I have gone back and kind of looked at the role, function, purpose, intention of the pain, and I found that there's meant to be a certain level of pain left, and then maybe we like turn down the dial of the pain so it's more
Yeah.
manageable and things like that. But it has meaning and purpose, and it's there for a reason, and it's not meant to be completely gone just yet. Maybe one day, but not in
Mhm.
that moment. So um, I can only imagine the amount of uh, medical interventions that were kind of thrown at you in
Mhm.
regard to dealing with this lightning strike. And you said that medical providers didn't really know how to help you or what exactly to do. But sometimes when that's the case, there's like a whole just a whole mess of invasive kind of testing and
Mhm.
things like that people are put through. Like how did you discern between what medical treatment you were meant to receive and what was going to be your own healing interventions? Like, how did you figure that out? I know you mentioned your guides, but um,
Mhm.
how would you recommend people really gain their own understanding of that?
The body is absolutely brilliant. And so when
Mhm.
we can really tap into the wisdom of the body, the heart always knows the truth, right? So
Mhm.
a big part of that was me channeling and asking my guides, like each test,
Oh,
each
uh-oh.
thing.
Oh, let's give her a minute.
Are we back?
Okay.
Hello?
Huh. So I am frozen also. I don't Mhm. Hello, welcome back.
Hello.
Sorry about that. I don't really know what happened, but before we kind of got booted out of there, I was asking you for any kind of recommendations about how we in our own lives might discern between when we, when we have medical, go lean on Western medical practices and then do our own kind of healing through our own energies. And you were mentioning when I lost you that the body is just, it knows, right? It's just incredibly intelligent. So can you pick up where we left off?
Yeah, the body has a really different kind of wisdom. It's not the cognitive thinking brain. And the heart is kind of the center of that body wisdom that always knows truth. And I know so many times I sat with people and they would get a medical procedure or choose not to get one. And something in them would say something to me like, I knew I should have, or I knew I shouldn't have done that. Like I really,
Mm.
I didn't want to do that, but I did it anyways. And so I really listened to not only my guides, but really the wisdom of my body. So each test that was kind of thrown at me, and there were so many, um, I said no to most of them because they didn't feel right in my body. And anyone can tap
Mhm.
into that feeling in the body of a no or a yes.
Absolutely. So anybody can tap into that knowing. Um, so again, it's, let's see, maybe just taking a moment to quiet your mind a little bit and listen, or when you do get that feeling like, that just doesn't feel right. Maybe like when you get a feeling like, okay, I think I need a second opinion, those are kind of signs that our intuition is sending to us, that's saying, whoa, slow down, think about this. Is that correct?
Yeah. Can we do a quick little experiment?
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. So one experiment is to learn your yes and learn your no, to learn kind of what your body does or says. So the first
Hmm.
thing I want you to do is kind of maybe put hands on the heart or um and close your eyes and just I want you to think about something that you love, but I want you to say that you hate it. So I'm going to say that
Mm.
I hate my dog Oliver. So in my
Okay.
body, I feel a contraction. I feel a tenseness. I feel my throat kind of locking up because that's not a truth. And I can feel a difference in my body. Now, let's shift to saying that we love that thing that we picked. I love my dog Oliver. And now my energy kind of feels expansive and open, and my throat chakra opened back up. And I feel that difference in my body.
Mhm.
Okay, and go ahead and open your eyes and come back. And you each of may have felt something a
Mhm.
little bit different, but that simple exercise gives you the experience of feeling a sensation, a
Mm.
sensory difference, or even people that are very visual will get different colors, right? I'll tend to
Okay.
see brown for no and red for yes. Or, I mean, we all have
Mm.
different abilities. And so if we practice that a few times, then we start to build that trust because we're starting with something that's known. I know deeply that I love my dog. And so that's an absolute truth. That is an absolute known. And so when we start with something that is so known like that, and I like to start with a negative first when you practice, just so that you're ending on love and that your system isn't
Oh
left
yeah.
in the energy of hate.
Yes. So when I did that, I could feel, the first place I felt was my stomach
Yeah.
kind of tightening.
Uh huh.
And then I also just noticed right away my heart rate increased
That
a
flutter.
little bit when, yeah, like,
Yeah.
um, and it was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And then when I thought the opposite way, that how much I love that person, I
Hmm.
could I could almost feel like relaxing. Then you
Yeah.
mentioned expansion. It kind of felt like that again in my stomach
Yeah.
area, in my stomach region. And I know if I focused on that for a longer period of time, I would feel my heart rate slowing,
Yes.
because I would be, it's it's a calming feeling
Yeah.
to feel the vibration of love. And that's why you're saying, right, to do the I hate this first and
Yes.
then end in the love, because you
Yes.
don't want to end that exercise in a feeling of fear. Well, hatred ignites fear,
Yeah.
that, and those
Yeah.
are real negative kind of energies. And so you're speaking of energies, and you also have told us that you have had to learn
Mhm.
how to exist and live within this new energetic vibration within your body. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's been an acclimation process, and it feels normal now, but at first
Okay.
it didn't. Yeah, it everything changed. I feel like a constant kind of buzzy. I feel energy. I can feel the
Mm,
energies of others. I can feel the energy in the room. So even doing an exercise like that, I it's like my sensitivity dial is way high. We all have the ability to do that, but my dial got turned all the way up.
right. Cranked all the way to
Crank.
high, huh?
Yes.
So, given that, what do you do to protect your energy? Because, I mean, doesn't that make going into like a Sunday trip to the mall a little bit difficult for you if you're cranked up to high all the time?
At first, yeah. At first,
Mm,
it was, energetic boundaries are really important.
okay.
Having the protection is really important when you're really kind of stressed out, when things are hard. When I'm at my
Mm,
best, though, I don't do that. What I do is I radiate love. And so nothing can really stick to that. Like when you did the part of the experiment where it was like, I love, right? Your body, your frequency started to shift, which is sensation awareness in the body, is what your brain picked up on. And so when we can radiate in that high frequency, that love vibration, those lower frequencies won't stick to it. And so I don't really need the protection when I'm at my best.
oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That
Uh-huh.
makes sense. And it probably explains why after, 8 hours of doing mental health therapy with people, and then I try to go to the grocery store, it's not a great experience.
Yeah, definitely would
So
want to have the protection and the energetic boundaries
yes.
in that case. Absolutely. Yeah.
So we're talking about energies now. You have graciously agreed to come on again for a part two of our
Yeah.
conversation. And next week, I'd really like to get into a discussion of chakras and energy and how we can um, grow and receive guidance from people like you, and how it can we can receive healing, we can guide our own healing, all of those things. So thank you so much for agreeing to come back. Please tell me. Also, next week, I'd like to get into the different services that you provide. I'm curious about some of the services that you do. One of them being empath coaching. I love that. I
Mhm.
want to hear more about that next week. So tell
Okay.
us how we can get a hold of you for services, how we can follow you on social media.
Yeah, everything is on my website. So if you go to Luminous Ignis, Luminous, Ignis, Ignus.com, you can find my social medias, my YouTube, and everything is Luminous Ignis. Some of them has a little dash underneath in between, but you can link to that from my website. And so everything is right there.
Awesome. And also, with every show, there's a title and then there's a description of the show. So at the end of the description for today's show is that website uh, link. So yeah, it's there for you to find. If you didn't catch it right now, just go to the description and you'll find that. So thank you, Michelle, so much for being here today. I so appreciate you. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and it's been a pleasure receiving amazing services from you. I'm so glad
Oh,
that I'm so glad that we came together and connected. I'm excited, and I feel a new friend to the show. So expect to be called on frequently
I love that.
for discussions. Good, good. Thank you. And thank you, everybody out there who takes the time to watch the show. I appreciate you, every one of you. And Michele and I are sending love and joy your way. And we will be back next week. So you've been watching Talks with Tracy on Bold Brave Television Network. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Bye, Michele.
This has been Talks with Tracy. Join us each week as Tracy and her guests will come together and realize that underneath it all, we are all the same and never alone. So join us each week and let Talks with Tracy be your safe place to land in your healing journey. Right here, Thursdays, 11 a.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave